Hi, I'm Megan. Welcome to today's live reading of Amalia Makes a New Friend by Janice Pratt, presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Join me. At the beginning of third grade, my teacher, Mr. Bowles, told us about the class's opportunity to get to know students in other countries. It was a pen pal program, and each student would get to send letters to a student in Ukraine. Before we were given the name of the student we would write to, Mr. Bowles thought it would be important to learn a bit about Ukraine. First, our class looked at where Ukraine was on the map. We studied a bit about what the country was like and learned that Ukraine was a very old country. People have lived there as far back as 32,000 BC. We learned that Ukraine is about the size of Texas and that about 42 million people live there. Ukraine is right next to Russia, and there have been many disagreements and wars in their history. Now, Ukraine is a free and independent country. Their Independence Day happened on August 24th, 1991, and their first presidential election was on December 1st, 1991. We also learned that Ukraine is a large country with many different kinds of landscapes, and that it is the second largest European country. Wow. In Ukraine, you can see the Carpathian Mountains on the west side and the Crimean Mountains on the south side. These mountains are only about 6,000 feet tall, about the same height as the Appalachian Mountains in the eastern part of the United States. Most of Ukraine is flat, with rivers running through the land. In Ukraine, Mr. Bao said family and education are very important to the people who live there, and that they make many beautiful things by hand, like the Easter eggs called piskansi, cloth, which they weave into many designs, and lace. To Amalia, this sounded wonderful, and she couldn't wait to ask her new pen pal so many questions about their country. Finally, the day arrived when Mr. Bowles was ready to pass out the names of their pen pals. Each note card that he passed out would have their pen pal's name, age, and a little bit about them. Mr. Bowles explained that many of their pen pals might not be good at speaking or writing English, so their letters might have to be translated. It would be an opportunity to maybe learn some words in Ukrainian. Mr. Bowles walked around and placed one note card on each desk. Amalia was so excited that she held her breath and only let it out when the card landed in front of her. She slowly read the card. Name, Vova. Age, 9. About me. I love to go to school and learn about science and how other people live. I play each day with my sister outside. We have a small farm in the town of Merfa, which is near the city of Kharkiv. We take our vegetables to this town to sell. Market days are very fun. I love to be outside, and I also love to read books. I can't wait to hear about your life in the United States. This was perfect, Amalia thought. Her pen pal loved the same things that she loved. Their families were the same size, and she knew they would be great pen pals. She grabbed her pen and paper and began her first letter. Dear Vova, my name is Amalia, and I go to Happy Days Elementary School. My mom is a teacher, and my dad helps to solve problems like how to help keep the water clean in our town. I spend a lot of time with my grandma and grandpa. We love to read stories and go for long walks under the trees, just like you. I have so many questions for you. Here are just a few. What is your school like? What are you learning about? We are learning about the planets and how to do really hard math. What is your favorite food? My favorite food is cheese pizza. Do you eat cheese in Ukraine? Or do you eat cheese pizza in Ukraine? What is your favorite book? I just read The Tale of Despero by Kate DiCamillo and loved it. It was about a mouse who falls in love with a princess. Can you believe that? Well, Mr. Bowles, my teacher, says we need to finish our letters so they can go into the mail. Please write back. I know we are going to be great pen pal friends. Your new pen pal, Amalia. Mr. Bowles gathered the letters and mailed them the next day to the classroom teacher in Ukraine, who would hand out their letters to the students. He also explained that it might take a while before they heard from their pen pals, since the mail could take a while to get all the way to Ukraine. In the meantime, he told the class that they could keep learning more about Ukraine so they would have lots to talk to their pen pals about. Mr. Powell said that because it was a very old country, there were a lot of traditions and customs. A tradition is something that is handed down from family to family that people celebrate every year. The first custom we learned about was to greet guests with bread and salt. The bread is a symbol of wealth, and the salt is a symbol of purity and helps to keep evil spirits away. In a Ukrainian home, when guests come over, they make sure that there is bread and salt on the table. To celebrate this tradition, we made homemade bread in class this week. It was super fun to use our hands to knead the dough. We let our loaves of bread rise in the classroom, and then the lunch ladies in the lunchroom baked it for us. Then we sprinkled salt on top of it. We took our loaves of bread to other classrooms to share and invited the other third grade class to be our guests for a bread tasting experience. It was so delicious, nice, and warm from the oven. After what seemed like forever, our first pen pal letters finally arrived. The room was completely silent as everyone waited for their names to be called. As everyone else began to open their letters, Amalia just looked at hers. She noticed the handwriting on the envelope, the paper that the envelope was made of, and the small picture that her pen pal had drawn on the back of the envelope. It was the flower of Ukraine. From these observations, she began imagining what her pen pal must be like. His drawing was beautiful and his handwriting was very neat. She imagined that he might love art and writing. Finally, she opened the envelope with great care so as not to tear the drawing and gently remove the letter. October 18th. Dear Amalia, I too have many questions for you about America. We have learned about your country in our school, and it sounds very big with many wonderful places to visit. In my country, everything feels very old. Your country seems bright and shiny and new. My village is small with only a bakery and a small store for buying food. We have a church in our square where everyone in the village meets on Sundays and special holidays. The church is very beautiful and I love to go. In school, we have been learning about America and reading books written by famous Ukrainian authors. The book you talked about sounds very interesting. Maybe someday I will be able to read it. I have only had cheese pizza once, and that is when we went to the city to sell our vegetables. It was so delicious. The cheese was spread all over the top. My favorite food is hot dogs and a mashed potato dumpling we call verniki. My mama makes verniki every Sunday after church, and my baba and Dida come over to eat with us. This is my favorite day because there are no chores and no school, so we can play outside. And I can draw if I want to. I hope you like the drawing I made on the envelope. My aunt is a great artist and has even had her pictures in some books. When we visit her, she shows me how to draw. I think I might also want to be an artist. Here are some questions for you. What is the town you live in like? Do you have any brothers or sisters? Do you live in a mansion? We have learned that there is a lot of money in America. I imagine that everyone has a very big house. I can't wait to hear from you. Your pen pal, Vova. Wow. Amalia's heart felt as if it was ready to burst. To learn so much in a short letter and then have so many questions at the same time. What does a village look like? Do they have any animals on their farm? What games do they play on Sunday? And what does her new friend like to draw? She grabbed her paper and pencil and immediately started to write her next letter. Dear Vova, it was wonderful to finally get your letter. I loved the flower on the envelope. It looks like the real thing. I looked up a picture of that flower in a book. I believe you will be a great artist because your picture just looks just like the one in the book. What do you like to draw the most? We have art classes at our school where we learn different ways to draw, but so far none of my pictures look very real. I will keep practicing. My town is middle-sized. I asked my mom what size it was. All the farms I know of are outside of town in the country. We have 2 stores to buy food, but we have to drive to them in our car. Most people have cars. I am lucky because I live close to my school and can walk. My house is a 3-bedroom house with a living room, kitchen, and a dining room where our table is for eating, and a garage where we keep our car. Our backyard is next to some woods where I love to play. I don't think our house is too big or too small, but just right for our family. I have one brother who is 3 years older than I am. He mostly just hangs out with his friends and skateboards, rides his bike around town, or plays video games. I think he's kind of boring. I do see some big houses in our town, but my friend and I just live in plain old houses. Here's what our house looks like. What does your house look like? Do you share a room with your sister? What games do you play on Sunday? How big is your village? Do your Baba and Dida live in the same village? Do you have any animals on your farm? I can't wait to get your next letter. Your pen pal, Amelia. With Christmas coming up in America, Mr. Bowles thought it would be fun to learn about Christmas traditions in Ukraine as they waited for their next letter to come. In Ukraine, they celebrate Christmas beginning on January 6th through January 19th. Wow, almost a whole month of Christmas celebrations. By the middle of December, families and cities are decorating their houses and buildings, and many Christmas markets are happening in the villages and towns. We learn that Christmas markets have food and gifts in little huts decorated with lights and other decorations. The pictures looked very beautiful. Families love to go and stroll through the markets and pick out special gifts for family and friends. We also learned that they have a special dinner on Christmas Eve called the Holy Dinner, or Sviata Večera. At this special dinner, they have 12 different dishes. Kyuta, boiled wheat mixed with poppy seeds and honey, is the main dish. They also decorate their houses with judika, a sheaf of wheat stalks that symbolizes their ancestors' spirits, and children sing Christmas carols going from house to house. On January 6th, people gather in the town center and greet each other with the special phrase, Christ is born, and then attend church. During the 19 days of celebration, children prepare puppets and plays about the season, dress in costumes to welcome the new year, chase away bad spirits, and finally go swimming in the cold rivers and lakes on January 19th to help them be ready for the new year. My class decided that we should plan a special class meal where parents and family could come, and we would also plan a puppet show for our guests. Everyone was excited to plan a Ukrainian celebration. As the planning got underway, our next pen pal letters arrived. December 20th. Dear Amelia, hi, it was fun to learn about your family and house. My house is small with only one room for cooking, eating, and getting together. We have a fireplace to keep us warm in the winter. It's fun to sit around the fireplace and tell stories with my mom and dad. Our farm is also small, but we grow many different vegetables, so we are never hungry. We all help to take care of the vegetables so they will grow, and we sing and talk as we work in our garden. We also have a few chickens so that we have fresh eggs and a horse that can pull the plow. We can walk to our village, so we don't need a car. My sister and I share a room, and my mom and dad have a bedroom. The house is painted white on the outside with red shutters. I hope my picture gives you an idea of what it might look like. I loved the picture of your house. I think that you are also a good artist. On Sundays after church, Anya and I play together. Sometimes we might also stay in the village a bit and play in the square with our friends. I love to play soccer with them. My Baba and Dida live in the next village, which is a bit bigger. They own a small shop where they sell flour and sugar and other things people might need. They have had their shop for as long as I can remember. Sometimes when we break from school, I visit them and help them in the shop. It's fun to help all the people who come in to shop and visit. What do your grandparents do? Do they live close to you? Where do you get the books that you read? Our teacher says that schools in America are very big. Our school has 40 students. How many students are in your school? What do you study in school along with math and the planets? It might be Christmas or even after by the time you get my next letter, so I wish your family Merry Christmas. Thanks for being my pen pal. I love learning about your life in America. Your pen pal, Vova.